Welcome to University, a podcast for young people navigating life's big transitions. I'm Annmarie your host. On University, you'll hear stories from college students. You'll get tips from experts. And occasionally, you'll hear from a parent's perspective on how to manage this time of change in your life consciously. Find yourself, find your purpose, find your people, and pursue you fearlessly. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of University. This is our recap of Shaina Zafar from last week. Adam and I come together, talk about the highlights for each one of us individually from the episode, what our big takeaways were, what we learned, what we want to learn more, and what we want you to learn. One big thing I took away was a lot around mindset. And one big takeaway for Adam was the difference between competition and inspiration. Wondering what your big takeaway is. Take a listen and see what we have to say about all that. And we end the episode talking about conscious listening, so you might learn a thing or two. I hope you join us this week. Hey Adam.
Hey Annmarie.
Excited to talk to you about Shaina.
Me too.
It was a great interview.
Yes.
She was unique. And we have some really similar guests coming up in the next few weeks, which I'm really excited about, because something I'm excited to start talking about on the podcast, or talking more about, is this idea of being an empowered leader in your life. Mm-hmm. Whether you're an empowered leader and creating massive social change, right? Or you're an empowered leader and you're creating change on a more micro level in your life, just like by the people you interact with every day. For me, leadership is just like, are you paying attention to the influence? Leaders are influencers. Are you paying attention to the influence you have in your life with others? Mm-hmm. Whether it be one other or 100,000 others, really doesn't matter, because everyone you impact matters, right? Mm-hmm. So Shaina is one of those students that really inspired me. She feels completely empowered to me, right? She feels fearless. She feels like she knows what she wants and she's going after it. Nothing's getting in her way. And I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. Like, here she is, 18, 19 years old, super ambitious, doing a lot in the world. How the hell is she doing all that? So I recognize that not everyone's that ambitious. Not everyone's doing that much in the world.
Yeah, and when you say that much, it means, like, to me, I look at it like, well, that means that's where you want to be. That's where we should be.
Right.
Having that much ambition.
I think that happens to us. I think we look at others and we go, wow, they're doing X, Y, Z. I should be doing that.
Yeah. And
like, there's a better, like there's a way in which some people are doing life better than other people. Mm-hmm. And what I want to point at is everyone's just doing life their way, what works best for them. And I love that she's finding her way and she's doing what she's most excited about doing. And the thing that I'm there's a couple of things on this podcast that struck out for me. Number one, mindset. Number two, being open-minded. And number three, empathy and compassionate listening. Or conscious listening, I might say. So there's these three things that...
mindset, open-mindedness, and conscious or empathetic listening.
Yes. So she brought up all three. Well, she brought up the empathetic stuff at some point in the podcast. So I want to touch on that a little bit on the recap. But the mindset was the biggest thing, because the thing that I found most inspiring about Shaina was her mindset, was that nothing is going to get in the way of what I want to do, who I want to be, or me accomplishing my goals. She has a belief that if he can do it, I can do it, right? So she looks at others in the world as inspiration versus competition.
Right. And competition, looking at others in the world through a competition lens, can lead you to accomplishing a lot of things.
Sure.
There's I notice that's how I look through the world a lot too, is through that competition lens.
Competitive lens. We all do that.
Yeah. And I think that it's like I may accomplish something, but I'm so exhausted from that competition that I just did that I'm not really able to be efficient and keep accomplishing from there. I need to give myself like a break in that accomplishment that I made. I'm not feeling light. I'm feeling heavy while I'm doing it. It's not enjoyable. It's like, you know what I mean? It comes from a different place. And I think that that's an important distinction where when I listened, I noticed it did not come from that place with Shaina. It came from a lighter place. It's not a competition with someone else. That's inspiring.
Yes.
Ooh, I'm gonna be inspired by that. I'm going to go towards that. That feels better.
Yeah. I want that.
I want that.
And I can have it. I can create it for myself. That's the other thing. She really created for herself the experiences she's choosing to have. So we talk on that one podcast where Kim and I did it. I don't remember what episode it was, episode 10 or something, about being victim consciousness or creator consciousness. And she's truly in creator consciousness. And that's all mindset. That's all belief system.
Yeah.
So she believes she can do it. And she's like, okay, let me just figure out the way to do it. It's like, I want to go from point A to point B. What are the pieces I need to put in place to get there? Not what is in the way of me getting from point A to point B. So it depends on what lens you're looking at life through. And her mindset is so focused and clear. It's just, I'm just going to figure it out.
And it's actual things that she wants.
Yeah,
because she's clear about that.
Yeah.
Where like the competition mindset can cause you to go down paths that you aren't necessarily like so passionate about, but like the idea of being that person being that person to you is like rewarding enough to go down that path.
Well,
it's a different mentality, and both can produce results. I've noticed in my experience, and then through listening to her, like that's one feels a little better.
Well, if ego gets in the way, right? If ego's going, well, I can be just like them. Like, so I am trying to prove something.
Yeah.
Versus, like I have this desire, this yearning. I have this
internal.
It's coming from inside me.
Yeah.
And if they can have it, I can certainly have it, right? Because this world is abundant. The world, you can have everything and anything you want if you believe it. So again, it goes back to that whole like mindset thing. So when you believe it, you can have it, and that's the big point with Shaina that I was most excited about talking.
It was matter of fact. Like as I was listening, I was like, she was saying these things that were so matter of fact. Where if I was her age and I was saying one of those things, I'd be like driving that point home. You know, I'd be like,
that's ego.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, I would have accomplished that. Like, it's like lack of efficiency when you indulge the ego, where she's just like, yeah, I did this and then I did that. Like, she had like this abundance of like, above the line energy, and
it's open.
It's open.
She's just open.
She's just open to what's coming to her instead of her going to it and finding something. It's just like what's coming to her. She's using, and
she's trusting, and she's open. Yeah,
it was beautiful. It was a great skill. It's something that it's a great skill, and I don't know how to develop that skill.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but I mean,
I know.
Well, but that's your belief, right? Right.
That's
there.
my belief, and
that's
then I won't develop it
because I don't know if I have. Yeah.
Because
our beliefs are everything.
Yeah, they are.
Our beliefs are everything.
They're prisons, and they're also the key to opening anything.
Oh my God. I like that.
It's like
or your prison.
Your beliefs can be your prison, or they can be or they can be your key. Yeah, like you feel trapped. That's I think where awareness really starts to come in. Is like, I've often said on this, or like with you, like, okay, so I'm aware. So now what? But the idea of being aware of just literally how you're feeling when you believe a thought can invoke the type of shift that you want. Mm-hmm. If I keep believing it over and over, and then without noticing how I'm feeling, I'll just keep believing thoughts that direct me in a certain way. Like when I was 13, I believed there was no way I'd play professional baseball. Yep. But like, why couldn't I just play college? You know, like why couldn't I just go towards doors that were like...
Why couldn't you play professional baseball?
Right.
I mean...
I wasn't good enough.
In your mind.
Right. And then that belief was a prison, and it felt bad, and... And
then you created it as true.
Yeah.
I mean, the only difference... who said this? Olivia said this on her podcast, too. Remember, she said, so I believed I was smart, so then I was smart. You know, like I was told I was smart from the time I was 3, and then, so I just lived up to that.
Right.
Our beliefs are everything. If we can cultivate the awareness to become attuned to the beliefs that we have, they are 100% the experience we create in the world.
And so, in how I interpret what you just said, is if I can notice how I literally just feel when I believe something, and if I feel like I'm in a prison when I believe something, that's literally not where I want to be. Like, I don't want to feel that way. So that's the key to shifting my beliefs eventually.
Well, that's the key to awareness. Shifting is a whole nother story.
But you can't shift without awareness.
You cannot shift without awareness.
So that's eventually maybe the key to shifting.
Yeah. So knowing what you believe is freedom. It's just freedom. Choosing to believe something different and acting from that place is a really transformative skill to have. Mm-hmm. It's also intimidating and scary. And so the reason most of us don't have the things that we want in our lives is because we believe that we don't deserve them, we shouldn't have them, we're not good enough.
We believe we shouldn't have them, yeah.
Basically. And so that unconscious belief then creates the experience of lack. So all we have to do in our life is look around the world and look for what are the results in the world, what do we have, and they tell us what our belief systems support.
What's an example of that?
Well, most people, often it's around money.
Okay, so let's go with that. Or I don't have enough.
I don't have enough. There's or I don't deserve it, or I shouldn't, or I have to work harder, or
to buy something.
Well, just like even the belief that I have to work harder to get something.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I often think that.
I don't deserve it unless I work really hard. There's a way in which I have to punish myself to deserve it. Like, how many of us were told that as kids? Mm-hmm. That we...
go through something to get this. Yeah.
But we're not just here and, abundantly deserving things. And it doesn't mean...
Like you can't have that treat until you finish your chores. I mean, it's something as simple as that.
Something as simple as that.
But that...
Yeah.
Is it to a kid that's learning...
Right, that's why our beliefs are set so early on in our lives.
What else did she talk about?
Okay, one of the things I really liked, she talked a little bit about empathy in regards to politics. Mm-hmm. And
she said that if everyone can just sit around and actually you don't have to change someone's mind.
Right.
Just hear the other person from an open place.
Yeah, so I think this is a really key leadership skill, is this idea of conscious listening. She called it empathetic listening, but it's really the same thing, conscious listening. And what that means is listening with an open mind. And so what I think a skill that's really important to learn, and you start to learn it very young. Most of us listen with filters, and we immediately start shutting off what the other person's saying because our mind is thinking about our next defense, our next point, something we want to make.
I'm doing it right now.
Good catch. Awesome catch. So rather than fully listening to someone, you're over there creating your thoughts, paying attention to your thoughts. And it's defended. People are defending their belief system rather than being open and curious and really, truly listening to another. So she talks about that, and I think she talks about it with, she talks about in terms of politics.
And she says it's a very polarizing time.
It's very polarizing. But politics have always been polarizing.
Of course.
But if we want to create change, and we're talking to a lot of impactful students on this podcast, and you guys are going to be going out in the world and creating change in your life and the lives of others. If we really want to do that, if we really want to create impact, whether it be with one person or 500,000 people, it doesn't really matter. We need to start learning to listen more consciously to one another and getting more familiar with the voices in our head that get in the way of really listening and taking in another person.
Yeah, even as you're talking about that right now, and in our other couples forum that you lead, like that's what we're working on right now, is a lot of conscious listening. It's a new concept to me. I've noticed as I've been working and working on conscious listening, I've noticed how quick my thoughts actually occur. Mm-hmm. They're so fast. They're like, they hear a syllable that you're saying, and they already know what word you're gonna. My brain already knows what word you're gonna say,
yep,
and knows where your point's gonna go. So even before you've said anything, I've already got what I want to say back going.
The brain's
before
so
you
tricky.
even. It's so amazing.
Yeah,
they're so quick, and so like that's a really hard thing to quote unquote defend against, because it feels infinite, and what I want to do is just flush my brain. Like, can we try doing conscious listening right now? Like, is there something that we can do?
Well, what would be a good exercise? Well, one exercise we do is just like be in conversation, and the minute you notice your mind wanders, snap. Mm-hmm. That's a fun one. Mm-hmm. But the key here is, I just want to keep pointing out the key. There you go.
Yeah.
You're done. I'm surprised it took so long, honestly. I'm like, because our mind is trained like a lost puppy to kind of wander into new thoughts. And when I'm talking, it's really easy for me to stay focused on my thoughts. Nice, that was another snap. But now I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, bro. I was just playing. But I did notice that once I first snapped, I got like 5 good seconds of conscious listening after that.
You did?
Yeah, like it kind of like snapped me into conscious listening. Like,
yeah.
It kind of brought me back to you a little bit.
So here's what I want to say about conscious listening, and we can do a whole podcast, and we're going to end this in a minute. But what I want to say about conscious listening is, first of all, it's a really challenging exercise to stay fully attuned and fully attentive to another person for an extended period of time. Science says that we can maintain our attention for 4 seconds. Mm-hmm. That's as long as our mind can actually stay attuned without it wandering. So one fun exercise is to take a Post-it note and like watch a video on YouTube or be in conversation with someone and just do hashtags. Like every time you notice your mind wandering away from what the person's saying. Mm-hmm. But it isn't necessarily, the game isn't how long can I listen to you without my mind wandering? Mm-hmm. Because like my mind just wandered because your ears just like went forward and back.
Yeah, and you said hashtag and you meant like tally marks.
Tally marks, yeah.
And so I've been thinking about that for like 10 seconds.
But your ears, what were your ears? How do you do that with your ears? Like I wish you guys could see this right now.
Well, we should just put it on Instagram after this.
Okay, we'll put it on Instagram. Your ears are totally moving.
It's really fun what they can do.
I totally can't do that to my ears. Okay, so you and I just got distracted.
Yeah.
But the awareness is what's important. So, yeah. So when I'm aware...
It's not sitting there and going, I'm going to listen to you.
Oh my gosh, this is such a funny story. But Kim and I went on a date years ago when we first started dating. Mm-hmm. And we've been practicing all these tools and whatever. And he and I are sitting at the bar at a restaurant. And he's like staring at me. Like his eyes were like burning holes through me. And his like whole body was like stiff and still.
Michael listens like that.
Yeah. And I go, that's Michael's, Adam's cousin. And my nephew. And finally, I'm talking. He's just really attentive. And I finally go, what are you doing? It's so weird. He goes, I'm conscious listening to you. It was
so funny. But I was like, no, I don't think you are.
Like, listen harder.
Yeah, like his whole body was tense. So that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is awareness is just awareness. It's just noticing. Mm-hmm. You notice when your mind wanders and you bring it back. And it's going to wander 100 million times. If you can notice it, you're practicing conscious listening. That's it. And sometimes your mind may wander so far off that you have to ask the person to pause or come back. But what you want to pay attention to, and what Shaina was really talking about, is this empathetic listening. So you have to be empathetic with yourself and with the other. So when you notice your mind wander, or you notice a judgment about the other person saying, or you want to jump on what they're saying, and this happens in politics all the time. Every debate you've ever seen on TV, they're never listening to one another. Mm-hmm. Like you ask them, like, what color is your tie? And they'll go, well, that's a great question. My mother told me when I was 5, and they answer something completely different, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea here is just have empathy for yourself and the other at the same time. Your mind is going to wander. Your mind is going to judge. Your mind is going to do all those things. That's fine. The name of the game is pay attention. Just catch yourself.
Well, it's a great point that Shaina brought up, and I mean, she brought up a lot.
Yeah.
And I assume if you haven't listened to that one, if this is the first one, just pop back and listen to her episode, because she brings up a lot in a lot of people, and she's an impressive,
super
empowering person. If you let her, she can be inspiring, right? And that's what I think's really awesome. If you let her and you let people around you be inspiring, then they can be. Yeah. What's the difference between empathy and sympathy?
Empathy is, I feel with you. Sympathy is, I feel for you.
Interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that next time.
All right. I hope this was helpful, you guys. We got off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's just the way it goes when we're doing our recaps.
Yeah.
On that conscious listening thing. But I think the conscious listening is a really important piece. I look forward to talking more about that too.
Me too.
Thanks, everyone. So go out and, I don't know, see if you can practice
snapping people's faces while they're talking.
Snap. We'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and perhaps you can practice some conscious listening this week and check it out. See how often your mind actually wanders when you're talking to someone else, or listening, more importantly. Like I noticed my mind just wander right now. So next week is our 30th episode, and we're putting together a highlight episode featuring some of our favorite moments that you may not have already heard of all of our guests so far, and we're bringing to you some pretty cool stuff. So I hope you'll tune in and take a listen next week.
Thanks for listening to University. If you liked what you heard, I'd be absolutely thrilled for you to share with a friend, and equally grateful for you to pop over and rate and review on iTunes. It really helps. You can find more information and stay in touch over at university.u on Instagram or at University on Facebook. I'll look forward to seeing you there. If you'd like support navigating the stress and chaos, and you're ready to create a more fulfilling college experience, I offer live weekly group coaching calls every Thursday, 4 to 5 Central Time. It's a place to gather together, to be seen and heard, to reduce your stress and learn how to be in control of your life and create a life you love. Give the first week a try for free. Check it out. For more information, email me at annmarie.university@gmail.com or click the link in the show notes below.